right, all right. I think I'm all set up. I think I've got things going. Just thought I'd go ahead and jump on and do a live stream. Unfortunately, I forgot to tell people that I was actually going to do it. So, if you're tuning in, awesome. Thanks for finding me. I'm trying to do this every Wednesday, trying to come in and do a live stream, just kind of sharing a tip or a trick or something that I've been doing in my journal. And unfortunately, it's like a lot of things that I kind of like forget to make those announcements and forget to let people know about it. So if you just want to mark your calendars that, check in every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, then I might be here. So anyway, so if you are kind of tuning in, great, go ahead and say hi in the comments. Maybe let us know where you are tuning in from. And so yeah. So anyway, today I've been really busy with doing stuff online. It's amazing how when I quit teaching and became a full-time artist and things, how much time you end up spending on the computer trying to promote things, trying to do things. And basically I have a brand new online workshop that's coming up that's totally free. And so I've been kind of doing a lot of things for that. And you can check out my Facebook feed and find links to that. But it's basically called Artistic Vision, and I'm looking forward to teaching that at the end of the month. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and make sure you check that out. It's totally free, going to be through Facebook. So also I'm going to be making it available on YouTube as well. But anyway, so today, I mean, we're not here to just talk about the workshop. We're here just to kind of show you some things. And I was so busy with things this morning, and then I was like, oh, I want to go live at 1, and I realized like, oh, I haven't really thought about what I wanted to share with you. But the thing is, I tend to have a lot of things, a plethora of things that I can and will share. But today I was just kind of thinking about ideas. It's something I've been thinking a lot about. I just finished up the National Art Education Association's convention. They held it virtually last week, and one of the things that when I was a public school teacher was trying to get teachers and even myself to kind of think about how you could have kids come up with their own ideas for art. And oftentimes that's what people struggle with. It's like, how do you come up with ideas? And so I wanted to kind of share that with you today. And for me, it starts oftentimes with a big idea. And a big idea is something that I first came about because I was an art educator and hearing art teachers talk about it. Big ideas are broad human issues or concerns. They're basically the things that artists make artwork about. It's like they might make portraits, but oftentimes there's a bigger idea, something that they kind of want to say. Maybe it's about identity if it's a portrait, maybe it's about community. So those ideas, those are big ideas because they're broad. And when you think of it, if you think of the word community, it's a very ambiguous term. I mean, it can mean lots of things, and that's what makes it really rich for discovery. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and how I can take some of these big ideas and basically mine them for things that I feel are important. So anyway, let me go ahead and switch over so that you can see my journal. And let's see, where was that? Where am I? What am I doing? Oh, switching. Oh, here we go. Sorry. It's even though I was on Zoom all last week, and that's what I'm doing with the through the live stream. It's like, oh yeah, what am I doing again? Okay, so I've got my journal. This is my current journal that I've been working in since May of last year. I kind of consider it my quarantine journal, and I started in it whenever I was doing starting to teach online classes, and so it's getting pretty full. This side's really big, but I wanted to show this page because it has these 5 big ideas. These are kind of like my standard. These are the ones that I come back to again and again. And anytime I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I can come back and I can think about place. I can think about time. I can think about identity, memory. or solitude. And those aren't my only five, but those kind of seem to be the big five that I come back to a lot. And they're also the ones that I use a lot when I teach and have people think about them. So you could take one of these ideas and just be like, okay, I'm going to make a page about identity, and you could turn to a blank spread or somewhere in your journal, and you might say like, okay, this spread is going to be about identity, and you could sit down and um, you can you know create and kind of have that in mind. So that's often what folks do with the big idea, is they'll just take that, use that as a theme, and create a page around it. But for me, I kind of want to dig down into that. Um, so looking at those, I might pick one and then do some writing. And the one thing with my journal is that you'll see spaces where I just write and write and write. I'm not going to get into that. That's a technique called stream of consciousness writing. But this one's all about memory, and it starts with the word memories, and then I wrote. But the thing is, though, like once I write, so I write for about 7 minutes. This was probably a little bit shorter, just because it's a shorter amount of writing. Oftentimes, though, I don't even time myself. What I'll do is I will be like, okay, I want to fill a space. So I had this rectangle, and then I went through and I was filling that space. So as I'm flipping through and kind of showing you some of this writing, here's identity. So I used a water soluble pencil and I wrote across the whole page and just wrote from top to bottom, and then I painted over it with water. But one of the things that you'll notice is that then there are some other words. So with this one, what I did was, yeah, I had the writing, but then you might notice that sometimes there are words that are a different color or they're outlined. That is a way for me to kind of look at my own writing and start to uncover or discover some things. So here's one about identity. It starts out, I am a teacher. So this is all about my identity as a teacher. I wrote, and then I went back and I picked out words. And then I took those words. So there's the word guide. Well, it's over here. Open doors, connect. Hopeful, adventure, discover, purposes. Then this came from a different writing. I'm not sure exactly which one. Probably one that's close by. So this is how I can mine my words, my own writing for ideas. And so yeah, so I can just kind of write about it. And like I said, I didn't time myself here because I was filling up a specific space. And then I go back and I look for some other big ideas or words that kind of I connect to. And that's, I mean, I do a lot of writing. And that, I mean, that goes in part to the visual journal, because I really think it is this marriage of words and images. And then sometimes I write. So here's writing, but I did it on tracing paper, and then I tore it up and I glued it in so that really only the words kind of show up. So some of those bigger ideas, this one says light bearers, this one says fight. Oh, that's probably where that came from. Yeah, right here. So fight, outsider, sorrow, light bearers. That all came from this writing. That's what it is. Okay. It's kind of neat to rediscover this. I mean, I did this months ago, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly when where all the ideas have come from. And here's another one, another list: family, memory, connection, abundance, power. So I probably did that for another class and then just kind of changed up. Or some of these have come from my own writing. So the idea of connection comes up a lot in my writing. And so the thing is that the more you write, sometimes the same ideas come up again and again. Here's another one. So here's more of these words that come from, sometimes they come from the writing right next to it, or it comes from something totally different. So I love words, and I love how things kind of can build from the different words. So anyway, So if you want, what you can do, if you want to kind of do a little bit of work today, or if you're just here to kind of watch, it's totally up to you. But um, grab a pencil or a pen, grab some paper, or if you have your journal, grab your journal, and then we'll go ahead and maybe do a little bit of this writing just to kind of show you. This is a standard of my practice. I mean, you can see I write a lot, and this is just how I process things, how I come through things. So here's another that writing with the water soluble materials. I haven't gone through this and pulled out the other words though. So maybe I'll do that later. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find a space where I can do some writing. So just like I do a lot of times, I'll just flip through and be like, okay, what's catching my attention? Where can I write? Um, and I just had a thought. I was wondering. I think I'm going to switch it up. So I typically write with a pencil or I write with my black pen. And I was looking at this page and I was like, okay, I've worked on this before. There's a lot going on. And, it's like if I write with the pen, it might just sort of blend into the other lines and it definitely would blend in with the map. So I just had a thought. And see, this is how I work and this is how like ideas come about. So I'm flipping through and I see this space and I'm like, oh, I'm going to write. Well, then all of a sudden my brain makes a connection like, well, this is dark. What if I write with my white gel pen, which is something I haven't done a lot of. So kind of just makes sense. So this is a Uniball Signo pen and it's a white gel pen and it tends to be a favorite of a lot of mixed media artists because it's very opaque. It writes on top of multiple surfaces, even porous surfaces. A lot of times the white pens work really great on like glossy materials or materials that are kind of slick. But with this, it'll write on top of surfaces that aren't super glossy as well. And it'll do it pretty well. And it's pretty opaque. And so I think I'm going to write, and I think I'm going to write right in this space. So trying to fill this. All right. So let's go back to one of my lists, one of my many lists. So why don't we just go back to this one because this is where I started. And if you want to do this along with me, like I said, have a pen, have a paper, have a space that you can write, and just kind of pick one of these. Or if there was a word in there that you've kind of felt like, oh, that other word I really liked on that other list. I always kind of feel like I go with my gut. And so like even if I'm only working with these five, if these are the five I come back to a lot of times it depends on like my mood. I might be drawn to a certain word one day and then a different word another day, or I might explore the same word but have a different slant on it. So that's the thing. It's not a one and done. I mean, I've explored identity multiple times. I've written about it, different types, different things about identity, Maya identity, people's identity in general. So I think today, though, I'm kind of drawn to time. So that's kind of what I'm gonna kind of focus on. But like I said, if you were looking through here and you saw anything on any of these other lists that really kind of captured your eye, because these are all big ideas. The idea of connection or power. That's a big idea. Okay. So what I do is I get myself ready, and then I've got my surface here. I'm not going to time this, but I am going to just kind of take a moment, especially because I've been chattering on for the last 15 minutes. I want to kind of quiet my mind, and I want to kind of start thinking. So I'm going to just sit here and think about that word time. And what I do is I try to kind of compose the first sentence. So pick your big idea if you're working along with me, and just kind of think about that idea. Just kind of let it percolate in your head. Don't start writing yet, but get ready to write. And then in about a minute, let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and set a timer just so I don't lose total track of time. And just kind of think about that word, because here's the thing. We're going to do stream of consciousness writing. If you've never done a stream of consciousness writing, let me go ahead and flip this back over so that you're not staring at my book. A stream of consciousness writing is writing without stopping, and you're just recording the flow of your words. So your thoughts are coming up and you're just writing down your thoughts. And so you don't worry about spelling or punctuation or grammar. You just let it go and you let the words flow. So it's a stream of consciousness writing. It's also called free writing. It's a creative writing technique that a lot of people use. I use it here just to kind of help delve into ideas a little bit further. Um, so we're going to take a minute and think about our word and maybe think about composing that first sentence. And then I'm just going to write, give yourself whatever time you want. I'm just going to fill that space. So I'm not going to set a timer for that. The timer I'm going to set is just to give myself 1 minute to think, and then I'll go ahead and start writing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start my timer. And I'm just thinking about the word. I'll go ahead and switch this back over. And again, I'm trying to come up with, maybe start to compose that first sentence. All right, so that minute's up. I'm gonna go ahead and start writing. So if you're working along with me, go ahead and just kind of start writing. All right. So I finished up. If you're writing, awesome. If you finished up, fine. If you're just kind of watching, hopefully that wasn't too boring for you just to watch me write. But I couldn't talk because I was trying to keep up with that stream of consciousness. If I were to talk and try to write, I wouldn't have made any sense. So, um, anyway, I wrote with the white pen, and you can see how it showed up pretty well. Over here on this side, where it's a little bit lighter, it is a little bit harder to read, but I kind of like how that little texture. It's not super obvious, but I can make things more obvious, and I'll get to that in a second. So just kind of want to mention and talk about this stream of consciousness writing, because I do think it's such a valuable way to process ideas, or uh, I'm not an art therapist, and I never claim to be. So I can't say this is therapy, but I know that whenever I'm dealing with something or something's really on my mind, that writing about it helps, just kind of getting it out. So oftentimes in the journal, it's not important that people can read it, because your journal doesn't have to be anything that you share with other people. It can be just for yourself. But I think there's power in words, and just kind of getting those words out sometimes can really help, and then getting them out in an artistic way, in an artistic form, I think kind of doubly helps. But so for me, it's just a way to, process so many things, process things that are happening in my life, process ideas that are coming up for my art. Helps me to reflect on ideas. So whether it's from life or from art, but actually I don't really see much separation between the two, between art and life. It's really hard for me to separate those. So anyway, it just becomes this fertile soil for finding kind of seeds of ideas that can grow. Or I often refer to it as mining, like, it's a gold mine, and we're just kind of digging down through. And now our job is to look for the nuggets of gold, the things that are going to really stand out. And so that's kind of what I do next, most often, not always. I mean, you saw some of the writing in there that I haven't done this next step, but in a lot of my writing, I look through and I try to find words, key words. And these are words that my good friend David and I, when we wrote our first book, used a term called operative words. And operative word, that's kind of like, that's the key word in a sentence. And actually, like when we say it, when we use that phrase operative word, we actually refer back to that word and say, like, oh, struggle, that's the operative word, because we're trying to put extra emphasis on it. So I look at these operative words as the words in our writing that we want to put extra emphasis on. They're the important things. They're kind of the big ideas, maybe not as big as time. So when I'm looking through here, I might pick out words that aren't as big of ideas as time, but they're still like big words. So I'm not going to pick the word the or the word flower. I want to pick out some other words. So let me go ahead and switch this over, and we can kind of talk about that. Oops, didn't mean to stop my video. Meant to switch my video. So what I do is I take a pen or a marker or something and somehow highlight it. Now this gel ink is water soluble, so I'm not going to take a highlighter over it, because it could just smear. If I paint over it, it can kind of smear and go away. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through my words, and I want to find things that are meaningful. I'm not going to use the word time. I start with the word time here, and of course it shows up over and over again. But there are other words that I feel like can really kind of stand out. I see one right here, the word flow. And you could do this kind of anyway, but I'm going to just kind of outline the white pen, and that black pen is just going to make it stand out a little bit more. And I mean, I could do this all kind of different ways. I could rewrite the word, I could highlight it, I could write the word over here if I wanted to, but just going to kind of look through. Here's the word comfortable. I don't know, just something about that kind of appealed. And you might be kind of wondering, like, well, how is comfortable a big idea? It's just an adjective, but that notion of comfort, that can definitely be a bigger idea. Maybe it's not as big as time, but it's a concept, right? Oh, here's one, normal. I ended up writing about how when we first went into lockdown for the pandemic, that like it seemed like we had all the time in the world. It seems like everything slowed down. And I think it's just because everything sort of shut down, and you'd go outside and there wouldn't be that many cars, and now it's just like things have quickened back. Have the pace has quickened back up. Here's one, wonder. So I usually look for like a handful of words that I feel, just kind of connect with, that I connect to. Um, and kind of think of it visually. I've got one here and I've got three down here. So I might look up here to see if there's anything that maybe I can pull out. Here's one, just beginning. So once I find these words and I've highlighted them in some way, if I want to, I can write them down like you've seen me seen in some of those other lists that I have in my book, or maybe they just sort of sit here. But oftentimes, what I find is it's really intriguing how some of these words come up again and again. Now, the word comfortable has not come up much, normal hasn't come up, but I know flow has. Flow's been coming up a lot lately. Beginning, I think, has come up a few times, but I when I look through my writing, here's some more. Um, there are certain words, like no matter what I'm writing about, so I haven't done I haven't gone through here yet, but there are certain words and certain ideas that come up no matter what I'm writing about. And it's really interesting to see that, because I often feel like when there are things that come up, that those are the things that I need to pay attention to. So, again, whatever's coming up again and again, that's what I want to pay attention to. And it's just probably like, oh, it's probably on my mind. And so I just keep coming back to it again and again. So that stream of consciousness writing, I really find it an interesting way of sort of processing ideas, reflecting on ideas, but then also using it as a way to develop my ideas, to go deeper into ideas, to find themes that are important to me. And because, as an artist, is like we want to know, we want artwork to be personal. We want to say something, whether it's in our journals or whether it's, for the art we're making for the wall or whatever. It's like we might want to have deeper ideas and deeper themes going on there. Um, so I might take some of those words and explore them, but the things that keep coming up again and again, that's kind of like what I keep coming back to. It's, for me, art and journaling and all that, it's a process of discovery. And I don't really know what I want to make artwork about. It's like it's constantly evolving, and I'm constantly discovering that. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to share this little idea, the stream of consciousness idea of writing and then finding words and themes in that writing to kind of help you kind of maybe move yourself along. Another thing that I do a lot of, and thought I'd go ahead and share. And if you've ever taken a workshop with me, you've done it with me. I do it in almost all of my workshops, so it's just a great way to kind of dive in, because that stream of consciousness really, it's not about being unconscious, but it's about allowing that consciousness to sort of to flow, to go in directions, to places that maybe you couldn't control or predict. And so that's kind of how I see art making a lot of times. I try to have it, have my art making to be more of a stream of consciousness as well. So anyway, but I really appreciate you tuning in. If you've tuned in live today, if not, you can still leave comments and let me know if you have any questions. And don't forget about my brand new free online workshop that's going to begin March 26th, called Artistic Vision. So thank you so much. And yeah, I really appreciate you being here. So thank you.